28th. Can you do us a roll call, please?
Absolutely. It looks like we have Alex Lawson, Angela Priest, Bryce Christians, Carrie Powers, Carolyn Bean, Cheryl Hartman, D.R. Guest, Alicia Beckholtz, Eric Dixon, Kyla Leonards, Martin Kidston, MCAT, and Rosalind Haley. For D.R. Guest, could we get a name for roll call?
Dexter Royce.
Thank you.
Hey, Dexter.
Hey, Dexter.
Hey,
Nice to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, before we dive in, do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda?
You want me to go who's in the room? I guess that's okay.
It's easy enough. I shouldn't screw it up.
It's okay.
Yeah, let's do who's in the room, please.
Thank you. We have Commissioners Slocknett, Strohmeyer, Bureau, Chris Onsbury, Alison French, Vinnie Pavlish, Ann Hughes, Mel Fisher, and Annie Cappy.
Thanks, Annie. Okay, now any public comment on items not on the agenda? All right.
It's Giving Tuesday.
It's Giving Tuesday.
Support your favorite nonprofits all.
That is great sentiment, one. And I have heard that philanthropy is having a little rougher time this year. I'm not quite sure why, but we should all do our part.
And I love that line in Susan Hay Patrick's piece yesterday. You don't have to give till it hurts, give till it helps.
Yeah, she's good with words. Okay, the consent agenda. Anything on this consent agenda anyone would like to pull out and talk about?
Negative. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thanks. Okay, Alicia, you are up first.
Good morning. We have in front of you today the JEDI, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Board bylaw resolution. As you all know, the task force made up of Walina Oldperson, Dexter Royes, and Regime Seabrook have been working alongside Rosalind Haley, myself, and Alex Lawson from the city on getting these bylaws all put together so that we can have a board that will be as inclusive and as equitable as possible. So this resolution will approve those bylaws as well as appoint Regime Seabrook as the commissioner's appointment for the advisory board. And this allows for continuation on that first year of the board so that we can just keep have that historical perspective and move forward with those new perspectives. Applications for the board have been open since November 2nd. It will close December 1st. And the city will be passing their resolution of this either tomorrow or next week. I'm still waiting to hear, and maybe Alex, you can talk a little bit more to that. But that's kind of the large scope of it. And we do have Dexter and Roz and Alex all here. So if any of you would like to add to that, please do so. But that's what we have. And any questions, happy to answer.
So this is for whoever on that crew would be the right person, please answer this question. So just to remind us, a certain number of folks on that board will be appointed by the commission, some by the city, some by the mayor, some by the board itself. Would you mind just kind of reviewing those numbers and then kind of follow up? You guys have been at this for a while. It was a long process. It takes a lot of energy to start a new thing. What are something that came out of that process that you are proud of? Whatever it is, love to hear it.
I can start with just answering the number of votes or seats question. Yeah. So we're going to start with the mayor having 1, and then the city council and county commissioners each have 4. And then as things roll, as those appointments roll off, we'll switch over to where one of those comes from the city council will then go to the advisory board itself. So then there will be 1 mayor, 1 advisory board, 3 city council, and 4 commissioners. Is that right?
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 8, 9.
Great, thanks. So on the second one, this is quite a process. I don't believe there's another city county in the state that's done this. So give us something great that came out of the process that's sticking with you.
Personally, it's that collaboration and the community that we've done. But I saw Dexter, you came off of mute, so please jump in.
Actually, I was about to say the same thing and also apologize because I am traveling and I'm not sure if I'm going to freeze up on you or not, or go digital. But no, the collaboration of the crew and everyone working together, actually staying with the process. It was a challenge and it still is a challenge, when you put all the minds together to try to develop a Jedi bylaws, to get it adapted. So there is a few changes, a lot of negotiating. So this entire team has been really committed to making this happen. And I do want to just mention Rosalind because she has been right on top of this in making sure we stay focused and coming back to it. So thank you all for being supportive of this initiative.
Thanks, Dexter. Roz or Alex, do you have anything you want to add?
I love speaking in sessions like this, but I think maybe one of the things that I want to say is how incredibly, I think, unique and well written this is because of the collaboration. I don't think we could have done it without Dexter, Regime, and Walina, and Alex and Alicia, and all of these ideas and visions coming together. I think has really come up with something that's really unique, and I think it's unique even in the application process. That's going to be inclusive. Not just for the board, but I think what's exciting is how these voices are elevated and can help guide everyone within local government forward in a way that is going to be inclusive for everyone. And I think one thing that keeps on coming to mind is that when one person isn't served, there's a whole lot of other people that aren't served too. So this is that opportunity to get those voices out there and to make improvements so that we're taking care of everybody.
Okay, thank you. Martin, do you have any questions on this? This is
Alex.
Oh, shoot, sorry. Alex.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
not at
just
this-
don't
Thank you.
have anything substantial to contribute beyond what my peers have said about the process, but I will add, I think the ability to kind of challenge the status quo in a way, to do this work in a way that hasn't been done before, has been really an exciting thing, to try and think outside the bounds and try and imagine new ways of doing and being and processing. And so I think that's been really rewarding for me personally and professionally, just even learning how you work within these bureaucratic systems while also trying to challenge them to maybe do things in a different way. So that's been really, just such a great learning experience. And again, I could not have grown or learned nearly as much without doing this alongside these amazing people, and just particularly for the task force members who gave their time to do this, have been giving their time to do this for years. Just really want to acknowledge that what they have contributed and what they've given is invaluable, and we would not be here without them. So just a tremendous debt of gratitude for Dexter, Regime, and Alina.
Thanks.
Good stuff. Thank you.
I missed, what was Martin saying? We cut him off, or
I think Martin said he didn't have.
Okay.
So there's 4 county commissioner appointed seats, 3 city council, 1 mayor, and then 2 representative for alternate positions.
Okay. Ready for a motion if somebody wants to.
I am thrilled to move that the board approve and adopt the bylaws for Jedi.
Second.
All right, any public comment?
I wasn't sure we'd ever get here.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a long time to do a good job.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, Eric. Rock Creek Bridge.
Yes, good morning. So you may remember that last month MDT notified us that the Rock Creek Road Bridge over the Clark Fork River is now under a scour critical status. That just means that there are foundations with, or the abutments on the bridge are either shallow or unknown foundations. And with the changes in the river channel over the years, has started to cause some erosion in the channel. And under that scour critical status, we are required to have a plan of action, which, first identifies a detour route should a closure be required. And we've done that. And it's not a convenient route to go through Phillipsburg to get back to the interstate, but that's the available detour route. And then also with that, we need to have a mitigation plan developed in order to remain eligible for federal or even state assistance if this bridge should happen to fail due to scour. So if we don't have a plan of action moving forward, and if we're not actively seeking scour countermeasures, then if this bridge has an issue even this spring, where maybe the erosion leads to potential damage or even requiring closure of the bridge, then we would not be eligible for assistance. So we have WGM lined up to do a scour mitigation plan. They'll do a scour analysis. They'll come up with a plan. The most basic would be riprap or some other method to stabilize those piers that are in the river. So as long as we are working on that plan, we can stay in the good favor of MDT should something happen to the bridge. So this would take about 9 months for WGM to complete this work. Part of that issue, or not issue, but part of the plan is to do the permitting. And with the Corps of Engineers these days, it could take several months just on their end, and then of course coordinating all of the final permitting actions with the county floodplain regulations. So it'll be a process to get through, and we'll be ready to work on it once we get this contract approved.
Awesome.
So the work, best case scenario, the work would begin when?
Well, the design would start now, and it would go through the winter and most of the summer to get the plan permitted. And then theoretically we could be ready next late summer or fall to do the work itself for installing the countermeasures. So this is just the design portion of it to show MDT that we are actively pursuing a mitigation plan.
And did Powell County, how did those conversations go? Like, did we get?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check back with Shane. I don't recall if he was going to check with them or if I was. We haven't yet. With the quick turnaround, certainly needed to have this in place. And it's something that we need to do regardless. It'd be absolutely fantastic if Powell County does participate, but we'll have to see what they are willing or are able to help with.
Yeah, don't hold.
Yeah, I don't think they're pretty under-resourced.
But I was thinking maybe they have some sort of special status because they are so under-resourced that we could take advantage of.
That is good. That's a good question. Yeah, because this is a really crucial thing. MDT is not going to go away. What would happen if this was entirely in Powell County? And MDT would play a larger role.
Yeah.
But no, I totally get the timing of it, but I don't want to not allow them the opportunity to participate.
Yeah, there might be some partnership.
Yeah, we'll check in with them. We'll make sure with Shane that one of us will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's a good thought, Mark.
We approve the PSA.
Second.
Right, any public comment? Favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Oh,
hello.
Good here in person.
I'm here in person. So what we have here is just a small amendment to the interlocal agreement for the administration of the local government building. We realized when we made the first interlocal that with Chris and Dale as the CAOs, as the two administrators, every time they were in the same room or in the same meeting, it was a quorum. In an effort to not have to publicly notice every time Chris and Dale see each other, And also to address just the administration of the building, we are proposing to change the administration structure. So it increases the number of administrators to 6.
Okay.
So, and that would include the mayor, the chair of the city council's public safety, health and operations committee, and the 2 CAOs, the chief operating officer of the county, and 1 commissioner for you to decide on who that would be.
If it's the mayor, why don't we just have whoever is the acting chair?
And then just changes each
Just
year.
change it up, you know, that seems to me the equivalent of the mayor. But if you guys have another thought.
Whatever is easiest for you guys to manage.
And I think the structure remains where the 2 CAOs have a large level of decision making.
And now they're not a quorum.
And now they're not a quorum.
So maybe it's an annual meeting that all 6 get together, but monthly functions can be dealt with by the 2 CAOs.
And reminder, this is just the administrative organization that deals with the things like paying the existing bills, not the construction and development of the remodel of the space. This is just the how do we figure out, how do we negotiate a lease with the post office?
So this rises to the level of being a governing body?
The interlocal, yeah, the interlocal is that creates the special district, appoints those members of the special district, and the special district is a political subdivision.
Who did that careful reading?
That would be myself and Dale and John, I think.
Wow.
And
Nice job.
Ryan Sudbury next door. To be fair, I think it was failure on all 4 of our parts to recognize that.
It sounds like a good solution, but a good development. So once a year or twice a year, the whole 6 will get together and talk through everything, and it'll get a whole bunch of people on the same page. Meanwhile, good work will continue because the 2 CAOs will move forward.
Agreed. Yep.
It's like a good idea.
Okay, I move to.
Yeah, sure. I move. I move that we approve the amendment to the interlocal agreement governing joint city county administration of the Missoula local government, the John Engen building. No, the Missoula local government's building special district. Sorry.
The special district.
Yeah, special district.
Right. Any public comment?
Thanks for finding all that out.
Good work. Good solutioning. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Okay. Jason Hauser.
Sure. Jason is joining us remotely, or not, or if this is going to be the Vinny and I show.
They want to start.
Sure, I'm happy to start. So commissioners, as you know, you've had a request from the local Jewish community to place a menorah on the courthouse lawn. We have a facilities use policy that that governs kind of standard, what I will call standard events. So when people want to have a day-long event, but this is actually a protracted period of time that they'd like to have it out over the holiday season, which doesn't really fit any existing policy. And so we have been working for about the last year, Vinny, roughly, on a use policy that would be more in keeping with this, but that has not been finalized. And so until that is decided, the idea was to bring this request to the commission so that you can make a decision on that. Some things for you to keep in mind around the courthouse lawn, just to speak for Jason's staff, is that they have pretty significant activities that they need to perform daily on the courthouse lawn. And that includes, right now, taking care of leaves and those kinds of things, but also during the season, we will have snow and those other kinds of things that occur on the courthouse lawn that they will have to clear off in the sidewalks and other kind of publicly accessible spaces, because the courthouse lawn is used as a community forum for lots of gatherings and rallies. The other thing that Jason wanted to make sure you're aware of is we do have a significant number of sunk, and by that I mean literally in the ground sunk, not cost-wise, but sunk in the ground utilities that include the sprinkler system, but also electrical capacity to be able to light the doughboy and the gazebo that's out there, as well as to provide power to other specific areas for them to be able to do that. So the ability to I'm going to use the term auger, and in this case, I mean literally like anchor into the ground, is particularly challenging on the courthouse lawn because of the number of utilities. So this would have to be freestanding. It's not something that we could auger in. And so one alternative to that is to potentially offer space inside the actual physical courthouse for the display, as well as another potential public venue that could be considered for you. And I guess that's the piece I'd share from the kind of facilities perspective. And then Vinny, maybe you can talk more about that kind of policy and underlying decision.
Could we do a facilities question before we get to the question? Yeah. So it sounds, given what you're saying, that outside isn't a good idea. It gets quite windy unless this thing is augered in, it's going to blow over.
Yeah, we have had concerns like this before, not only with this type of display, but, as you may recall, from many years ago, so that's why I'm using that one. We've had other people attempt to erect structures, from tents to signs to other things on the courthouse lawn, and it is just a difficult space to have those kind of permanent, not semi-permanent.
But
things without signs.
presumably we know where the sprinkler lines are and the electrical lines are, and we would not be, just to argue the other case, and we would not be shoveling snow in the middle of the lawn.
Yes, nope.
So
Those are just things that you should take.
I'd be worried about things getting vandalized and there's constant drama about a target.
It actually gives me
Yeah.
real fear that this thing is out in the elements, not just that it may get blown over. And I hear what you're saying. You imagine with some
We can figure out where the lines are.
spray painting, a little locating, we should be able to dodge that. I don't know that we, especially given this moment of heightened tension, that we would dodge vandalism, and then it would just really be a horrible thing that we're dealing with. And indoors, I'd be less concerned, but could be convinced otherwise too.
Yeah, so I don't know if Vinny, maybe you want to.
Yeah, so, and we've covered this in a couple of different conversations about the legal underpinnings of this sort of speech. Even if we do enact the use policy that we're currently looking at, these kinds of decisions will still be before you, because in order to maintain your discretion for how the property is used for government speech, we need to also make some decisions about these sorts of things, make sure that this is a message that we intend to be sending. It's a little bit different from our historical practice, and so you want to think about precedent as well. Other kinds of holiday displays, denominational or non, have been inside, probably for security reasons in the sense that you're talking about. But there isn't any, legal directive about whether you can or cannot do this. I think it's permissible either way. But there are probably reasons to sort of consider. And
When was the last time anything was ever erected on the lawn?
I didn't know the answer to that.
whole encampment on a lawn.
Well,
I was going to say, so Occupy was the last large scale thing. There are temporary uses that occur around first night of some things on the courthouse lawn, but again, they are very temporary. They are usually the day before leading up to the event of first night, and then are removed the next day. And that includes, we've had years where ice sculptures have been constructed, giant snow structures have been constructed. Again, they're very temporary in nature, and again are not something that actually is like anchored in to the courthouse lawn, and does kind of fall more under our traditional courthouse lawn use kind of application. But the last large scale one where we had things like that was Occupy Missoula, which was.
What year was that?
2013,
12.
It was a long time ago.
It was quite a while ago.
I never saw. I did not.
And doing the Google for us to give us a year, hopefully.
Before my time.
Yeah.
But one other thing from Hauser's perspective too, because I know this has come up when we're working through the use policy, it seems like those small things like lining the utilities and that sort of thing is not that big of a deal, but it does stack up. They get an awful lot of requests for different kinds of stuff. And so it's something where I know a precedent of allowing this sort of stuff. It's easier for his office to basically just say no to all of these things. Not that that's necessarily the right decision. It's just like there is some structural pushback, I would say, from the facilities crew who bears the responsibility for these things.
It's always
and then
fault of government.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other sort of legal underpinning stuff is like you're always going to have tension when there's First Amendment stuff at issue.
Sure.
There's those obligations are designed with tension in there, and this is the kind of thing where you were elected to represent and come up with a decision for us.
Yeah, I mean, if there's some local group who has views that are abhorrent to most people, they would also want their display put up there. And if we said no to them, I'm sure there'd be a lawsuit.
Although we could say no to them.
Although we could.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that this decision is before you, despite the fact that it's not like that much fun to decide it, is so that you can maintain that discretion under circumstances that I think would be a little bit more, like that would cause you more heartburn than this one probably does.
So I would have no problem in the rotunda. That's not an issue for me. I think what, and I don't see Rabbi Vogel on here. I think what if I kind of want to channel his sentiments, which I've heard, is that because of this moment in time, something public and visible is meaningful to him and certain members of the Jewish community here, and seemingly worth the risk of potential vandalism, which always could be the case. So I think from their perspective, that seems to be the argument that there's a qualitative difference between inside the building and outside the building in terms of messaging.
This is really tricky.
I can say too that I believe that those conversations mostly have gone on with Brian and not with me, but for my office, I know that alternatives have been offered to the rabbi, and my understanding is that he is not interested in that. So,
oh, really? He doesn't want the rotunda?
That's my understanding. Not that he couldn't change his mind or whatever.
Sure.
That's like Commissioner.
And one of the concerns I have right now is that this symbol isn't just a symbol of support. In this historical moment, it feels like it's more of a symbol of taking sides in a war.
Mm-hmm. And it can be antagonistic too.
It could absolutely be taken as antagonistic to people who wish to see the war stopped just right now. I don't know how to navigate that, just saying it out loud.
I feel comfortable offering the rotunda, which gets a lot of traffic.
Mountain, and it's not going to get blown over.
And it's going to be monitored and guarded, and it's going to be taken care of. And I feel I absolutely understand Rabbi's feelings. That totally makes sense. I just don't want to put us in the position of creating a larger mess.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I could probably go
either way.
But like I say, I see zero issues with offering space within the rotunda next to there's going to be a Christmas tree up there, presumably.
Yeah, actually, I really like the idea of the menorah next to the Christmas tree, because now we're talking holidays. We're not talking the Israel-Hamas war. And I think these symbols absent, if the menorah minus the Christmas tree in a public space looks like it's a statement on the Hamas war, even if it isn't actually, it could be interpreted that way, like, oh, Missoula County is taking a stance in an international conflict, which we're not. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Comms.
No comment.
So are the two options that have been discussed inside the courthouse, on the lawn outside the courthouse? It sounded like there might have been other.
Those are the only two that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and what's before you really is to approve or deny the request to use the lawn. That is really not to say, I mean, I think the rabbi understands, because these conversations are ongoing, that this isn't like shutting the door in his face necessarily, that we still have other options and we can continue the conversation. But again, I mean, one of the things that I believe happened last year, and I was super new at this time, but I think he didn't get the sense that he had a straight answer in response to his request last time. And I think he wants one.
So just an idea, given that you've been in contact with him, what do you think about you having a one-on-one chat with the rabbi about what his intention is with this, and if he would be open to being in the rotunda? I totally hear what you said, but if Dave would have a one-on-one conversation with him and he can say, no way on the rotunda, or
I've already had that.
You have. Oh, I'm sorry. He's not open to.
He wasn't in the past, but maybe it was also the case that he felt as if he did not get a definitive answer from.
This was a year ago when you had those conversations. So things are different now, globally, right?
Yeah, and so my inclination would be to bring some closure to this, just to make a decision on the lawn and offer up another space. I think did we all meet with him at one point?
I wasn't around.
Well, yeah, I do, because, I remember meeting with him.
Yeah, so I've met with him a couple of
So if we do this, I mean, been like the pros and cons here. If we do this on the lawn, there's the issue that there's added work and potential material damage, added work for facilities, and they could hit a line and it could be, it's a more hassle. But we're also opening this symbol up to vandalism in a time when tensions are really high around this issue. We're also appearing to make a statement on an international conflict when we're actually not. Pro side of it, we're showing support. What am I missing here?
Well, I mean, on the flip side, someone could say, well, you had blue and yellow lights and the clock tower after the start of the.
Absolutely, you're correct.
Train.
You're correct, yeah. It seems like that one is a little easier to navigate.
And yes, we did have those lights,
And we did.
and a menorah can be in the rotunda. I feel comfortable denying the request to use the courthouse lawn and offering
Encouraging.
and encouraging the use of the rotunda. Yeah.
And we could talk about the truth here is the vandalism, the material issue, and the potential for our actions being misread as a statement on the war. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or do you feel like we should just do it?
Oh, man. I legitimately could convinced either way. I'm less, given some of the legal analysis over the past year or so, I'm less worried about the possibility of a slippery slope that maybe
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that either. I'd be honored to say no to some horrible group. So also there's the incidence of anti-Semitic behavior happening in major cities across the globe is way up. And maybe it's a good statement for us to make. It may be interpreted not just as a viewpoint on an international conflict, but a statement of support for a group that's taking a beating in other places.
That would be one of the stronger arguments for doing this outside. Do we have any sense of the scale of what is being?
Well, that's a great question. Is this
the size of 20 feet
That is
tall?
a really good question.
So the use permit does not specifically describe it, except for to say that it's throughout the Hanukkah season. So I think the length is probably the more burdensome thing than the size, sort of regardless of how big it was.
Yeah.
I still don't want to get in the mess on the outside. Put it inside, have it protected and managed. And it can be big and bold and beautiful inside.
Are they planning to light the menorah?
Their part of the request does call for electricity. I'm not sure precisely what that's for, but I imagine it's for lighting it.
And there's electricity inside.
I'd love to know how big. I guess
Yeah, I'm actually not at all concerned about the physical things. We can figure out placement in a way that's not going to damage Missoula County underground infrastructure or obstruct snow removal and such. That's honestly way less of an issue for me than, unless it was the case that we have no idea what's underground and might actually poke a hole somewhere and damage something, which I guess is conceivable, but we just redid all the sprinklers, so we should know where it's at. But it's more the other.
Yeah, well, now I'm convincing myself of we should do it because of this horrible activity happening in major cities across the globe. But I don't know.
I'm like more weighted on, let's do it inside. I don't like
do it inside. We dodge vandalism.
it is. I just really feel that it's going to be a target.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be a target.
You want me to call up the rabbi and have a conversation about this?
Oh, yeah, do we have to make a decision today?
And it sounds like you were saying you feel like you did.
Well, I feel like I know pretty well where he's coming from, that he wants, or he or they want something visible.
There's also multiple rabbis in this left. And
Well, this is one faith community.
it's also, it's very small. There's a much bigger one if it's worth checking in with those folks.
Oh, I'm not following you. So there is not one
There's not.
voice
No,
speaking for
There's not.
inside, man. I'm like,
More clear. I mean, the voice might act, I mean, we've not touched bases with anyone else, so I mean, for all I know, there could be a unified voice on the matter.
can you go have conversations
And-
with,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Just to follow up.
Rabbi, I'll speak with the other folks and just to see what they think and outline this situation.
When was the date by which they wanted?
Did we just describe something impossible?
The start of Hanukkah. Relatively soon.
Oh, geez. So would
so
we have another opportunity to make this decision? Or
Okay.
I'm sure, I think there's other admins on the counter, but
As I say, there's admin this week on Thursday, and then there's Tuesday of next week.
what's the next?
We have to make it by Tuesday. Oh,
so a
So
motion.
we have to do
A
it.
motion to table this decision or whatever is perfectly fine, but my suggestion to you from like a parliamentary standpoint is only do that if you have specific steps that you intend to take and a date by which you intend to make this decision. So that, again, the rabbi isn't stuck in a kind of a
The
languishing
steps
position.
would be, Dave would be talking with the rabbi and I would reach out to Har Shalom.
and then we make a decision without Dave.
Yes, you would.
Or make a decision Thursday.
Not be here on
Yeah,
Thursday.
Dave is.
Not be here on Thursday.
And that just feels gross. Like, I don't want to make a decision on Hanukkah. Like, when that just feels disingenuous. Disingenuous, is that what the word? Okay, thank you.
I don't know if you can just be genuous.
You're right. I was- Okay, thank you.
It's never hurt.
Right. Yeah.
The easy way out, which I don't feel all that great about, would be, we are in the process of, I mean, I can't believe we've.
It's been taking a year. That's what-
But, we're still working on our policy. We're gonna deny the request, and you can place it inside the rotunda.
I
don't know.
I'm saying, we're making a decision right now. That's what the policy allows us to do. I'm fine with denying this specific request.
Policy will still put this kind of decision right.
Yeah, we're gonna have this conversation again.
So can we, I'm feeling a little bit bold here.
Okay.
So, can we place any parameters on the size of said structure?
So you can do what you like, but my suggestion is that it would be better to do that with more information from the rabbi himself. But that's just because that kind of drafting at the decision point is difficult.
So here's something that might be totally unprecedented with admin meetings. Since we have not exhausted our hour, what if we take a short recess and we make a couple phone calls? Can we do that? Like right now?
Yeah. I'll do
Wait,
it.
Come back in 5 minutes.
Doing it right now.
Well, maybe we do the letter, so the focus on here.
Yes.
Did we already sign it?
No, you haven't signed it. And there she is.
Good to hear.
She's up there, 100%, Carolina.
Carolyn.
Hi, everyone. I hope this is an easier conversation. I don't envy that decision. As we've talked about, the Montana Department of Environmental Quality has opened up a comment period for people to provide input on the Montana Environmental Policy Act and how it should be implemented into the future. They opened this comment period both because MIPA is getting old. It was written in the 70s and they're looking for opportunities to modernize it, but also because it's been in the news through the Held v. Montana case. And so while that's still active litigation and under appeal, they are trying to begin a conversation and listening session on what Montanans would like to see in MIPA. So Elena Evans, who I believe is online as well, and I drafted a letter for you all to consider and sign. The key takeaways from our letter is we encourage them to include the impact of greenhouse gas emissions in their MIPA analysis. That was a key part of the Held v. Montana case. We also provide some really specific guidance on how they could create a GIS system and a dashboard for folks to be able to track these types of decisions more closely and be able to coordinate across jurisdictions. And I'm sure Elena will speak more to that if you'd like to hear more. And then we provided some examples on what type of climate science they could include and reference, because that was part of their questioning as well, of how would we even go about analyzing greenhouse gas emissions. So we provided some suggestions there as well. That's the gist of the letter, and happy to provide more information or answer questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for working on that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we like did their job, so. Caroline and Elena.
Thank you. Good work. I'll be right back.
All right. Have a good recess.
We're gonna sign it. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's amazing. Yes. So it's a very thorough letter.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute. We'll be back with everybody.
Well, Josh can because he's the chair.
Hey, Martin.
Hey, I was just gonna let you know that I can't hear you, but I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay.
We're still waiting for
Wait, Dave
Oh,
is
okay.
back.
I thought you were back in session, so
No,
thank
we're
you.
not. We're not yet. We're just waiting on Dave.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Sorry, we're back.
We got it, Martin.
We're unmuted. There you go.
Martin, are you still here?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Sorry about that. That was a technical snafu. Okay, we're back. Dave and I each one spoke to our respective rabbis.
So I spoke to Rabbi Chesky Vogel.
Okay.
And I was moved that maybe we should do this. His point was that, and as I suspected, the outdoor display is visible and making a statement in a way that something tucked inside the rotunda of the courthouse would not. He's of the mind that that the menorah is not only a Jewish symbol, but it's a broader symbol of good and hope that at this moment in time needs to be allowed to be displayed in a way that shows the support to the Jewish community in Missoula from local government that thus far, in his mind, has not been. I mean, he's right that local government has been silent over the past month and a half. So he sees there being real value in us making this sort of public statement and showing a symbol of, in his mind, hope and freedom and support for the Jewish community. As far as the issues of vandalism, he says, that's on us. Don't worry about it. That's if it's vandalized, we're willing to live with that as a potential option. And as far as a potential slippery slope scenario of does this open up the floodgates of other groups who might be, I guess, more pushing the envelope of what might seem an acceptable expression of religious freedom or free speech. He was not too concerned about that based on, in his mind, the number of menorahs that are on public property across the country, that the issues that we're bringing up seem to be, again, in his mind, creating a problem, seeking a solution. So what did you hear?
So I spoke with Rabbi Lori Franklin, and she talked about the potential to misunderstand this as a symbol that we're making a statement on a war. And she said it's pretty complicated and feels like the way to be making this decision would be to have a bunch more time to deliberate and to bring in people who could speak to it. And she really wanted to make sure I understood that the Jewish community is not a monolith, and there are certain religious sects and they have different viewpoints on these things. And her take was, given the complexity, we should not be expected to make this decision this quickly. And we should put the menorah next to the Christmas tree in the rotunda, where it will be seen as a holiday symbol and a statement of support, but would not be misconstrued as a statement on the war. And if we want to do anything different in the future, bring in folks, have lots of discussion, do a robust kind of conversation about it, which we don't have time to do right now.
Well, the rabbi that I spoke with did agree that this conversation that I was having with him in 5 minutes was something that needed more time to probably talk through. So I don't know if there would be adequate time this season to,
I don't think there would be,
have that sort of conversation.
Given, I was moved by Rabbi Franklin's points that this deserves a larger, robust conversation where we bring in people who are not at this table right now. Absent those folks' voices, let's just do the safe thing that is not going to be misconstrued.
That's how I feel. I mean, I was raised agnostic, and Rabbi Vogel saying that the menorah is actually a symbol of goodness and hope. And I had a little hiccup because how I was raised, sometimes bad things come cloaked in a flag carrying a cross, and so these symbols can mean different things to other people. We can't necessarily control how people are going to receive them. And so I'd be more comfortable having this respectfully displayed in celebratory. Is that an adverb? That's a weird adverb, but celebrated in the rotunda with or without the Christmas tree, whatever, but have it in the rotunda.
And then, I mean, I would
continue this conversation.
And then I would want to do that. And then let's bring in people from all these communities and have a larger discussion on what should the role of local government be in all this. Should we be making some statements and hear from the dueling rabbis and their respective communities and people who we should ask them and maybe ask Alicia to help us. Not maybe, definitely ask Alicia to help us. Make sure all the voices we actually want to hear from are sitting at the table.
This would be a great task for Jeddah.
There's not enough for us. There's not enough between us here to answer this well. So that's pushing me towards let's do the safe thing we're not going to screw up, rather than make a big screw up.
Well, if we do that, can we draft a sufficiently nuanced letter?
Absolutely.
So we don't just send back a form with denied.
Right.
Is Alicia still on?
But can work on something. Yes.
I think it's important. I think it's important to say that we recognize that there is not unanimity even within the Jewish community in this.
And these are really meaty issues. We need to have a conversation with all the right voices around the table, and the three of us is not even close to it. And we really appreciate that the two rabbis were available on short notice to have a little conversation. Interestingly, both of them said, this isn't enough time to really do this right. And I don't get the sense they agree on all that much.
Agree.
Do you feel like you have enough to work with?
Oh, yeah.
So what is,
I was poised to say yes, and Lori said something different.
Yeah.
what, okay, so what's our motion here, or how do we wrap
And
it?
it sounds so crass. No. Right, but we're giving a much more robust response to that in our letter to.
And I think we also, even though it's clearly not his desire, I think we offer up the rotunda.
Of course.
Absolutely, absolutely,
I
yes.
think one goes without the other. And a description of why we came to this decision and an invitation to have a larger conversation.
And I think the why, I don't think we even mentioned the other stuff about problems with facility.
I don't care about that either. I'm unmoved by that. Not that I don't respect people's work time, but I feel like that's not that. Totally respect their work time.
Solely a matter of additional conversation needed.
With the right people at the table, and we're not that.
Yeah.
Is the motion on the table move to decline the offer to display the menorah on the lawn and offer
Yeah.
an rotunda?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to deny the use of the courthouse lawn for the Hanukkah menorah display and offer to have it displayed in the rotunda. And continue these thoughtful, generative conversations and have this buttoned up by next season.
Yeah, let's schedule such a thing and invite people, and we'll have Alicia take the lead on that. Okay. Any public comment? Anybody dare, right? Wade into this. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I do also wonder, is there something that we could say that would telegraph, or more than telegraph, express support for the Jewish community? Because that was an underlying theme here that
let's bring in the two rabbis and their folks and ask them that question. They'd be the ones who would need to feel that support.
Commission consider resolutions,
I mean,
public statements.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Look like
Yeah, we could do something on Thursday. We could make up a
statement, resolution, proclamation, whatever the appropriate instrument would be. I think that's what he was, short of a physical display.
As we're handing Alicia all kinds of work, she could write a proclamation.
And maybe we put that in the letter too, that we will.
An official statement of support.
I mean, it would be great to have some drafted language or concepts from the Jewish community. They're going to have to talk amongst themselves to come to some agreement on what that would be.
Yeah, they should have that big conversation. So much better than us trying to figure it out.
Oh my God, yes, we are. Or I definitely know I'm not.
Me too. Perspective's only this big.
Yeah.
So.
And then we're gonna need another resolution to, whatever Palestinian, Gazian,
Yeah, great. Bring it on. Let's hear from everybody.
Yeah.
So before we.
Oh, Vinny.
So before we draft a statement, are you suggesting that we reach out to both?
Or just let anybody?
No. I think in general, when we're drafting a proclamation, we look for input from the community that it is supportive.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So what would the next steps be to do that?
We could reach out to Rabbi Vogel and Lori Franklin and the president of Har Shalom and say, here, you guys, what do you think?
So maybe so as to not protract this letter going out, can we say in the letter to Rabbi Vogel that we will be following up, soliciting input on a statement of support for some such thing, so he doesn't think we're just denying it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jenny?
Oh, sure. I have great respect for the communication staff at the county. I think that they know how to get this done.
Thanks, Vinny.
We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Vinny, for your patience with this.
So did we actually